Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today I am going to talk about something a little more personal and specific to being an entrepreneur in general. And if you are listening to this podcast and you are someone who is a coach, or this could be a different type of entrepreneur as well, but as you know, I am a coach and I speak a lot to coaches. And something that is not talked about very much on the side of being a coach, specifically an online coach, is that every day can basically feel like a mental battle sometimes. I feel like so much of seeing success is managing your mindset. And something that I haven't shared too much about, I actually recorded a podcast, but I unscheduled it because I just don't feel ready to share like all of the details. But I was thinking about this because in February, I had my biggest month ever in business by a couple $1,000s. And it was a goal I had been working towards hitting for like a long time, okay? I am somebody who I want my business to be extremely consistent, and sometimes that means you will hover around the same income for several months in a row before it goes up or whatever. Like, I'm willing to ride it out to have a more consistent income rather than shoot straight up and go right back down or whatever. But anyways, I finally hit this goal that I had been working towards for a long time in February, and it was so interesting to pay attention to my mindset and my thoughts after the shock factor of like, holy shit, I just did that. Like, after the shock factor wore off, it was a lot of self-sabotaging thoughts that came into my mind. And my mentor talks about this all the time, is that like on the other side of you reaching a big goal is a big size of self-sabotage just waiting for you on the other side, because how we are wired and conditioned as humans is to stay safe. And it's great. We love that our body wants to keep us safe, okay? But also sometimes it can be hard to grow and push yourself to expand because everything in your body like wants you to stay the same. And so anyways, going back to this, like I would say the week after, like the first week of March was a total mind fuck for me. I was having thoughts of like, yes, you hit this goal, but it's not coming from, you know, the money isn't coming from exactly in the places that you want it to. But it's because you're running a retreat in May. But it's because this, like, is what you're doing even working? Is this going to work long term? Like all of these intrusive thoughts. And I was like, wow, like this is so interesting. And what my mentor called me out on it about the self-sabotage. And so I was just thinking more about this, and I'm like, wow, really the more success that you see, the more you have to manage your mindset so that you can hold it and keep it. Because let me tell you, there are so many coaches, that I know of who have seen incredible success in a short amount of time. But guess what? They can't hold it and everything falls apart. And they just kind of disappear. And they're part of the huge graveyard of online coaches who eventually just stop because it is extremely difficult. And so, and honestly, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be that. And I always said that. And doing the work required to not fall into that category is so uncomfortable and so hard and feels so shitty 90% of the time, because there's so much of growing an online business that is grunt work. It feels like grunt work almost. It's not sexy, it's not exciting. It's just like head down, do the work. And I am so grateful that I'm in a spot in my life where I am able to fully focus on my own business, because up until last year, that wasn't the case. And I felt like, I would have given anything to be able to just fully focus on growing my business. And now I'm living in that. And sometimes I lose touch with that. And it's like, wow, I have to remember that, like, I get to do this. And I think that a lot of coaches fail to do this. It's like, all right, in some aspects of your life, you're probably living in an answered prayer. And you have to always remind yourself of that. Because all the experiences I've had in my coaching career, up until this point, it's like, there's always been something that's like, wow, like I prayed for this. Like, wow, I prayed for this. Wow, I prayed for this. And it's important to not forget that, because it can be really difficult to stay inspired and to stay excited. And when you do run an online business, your energy and mental state and vibe and the whole thing about you, like that whole thing, just you in general, matters so much and impacts your ability to be able to sell, because nobody buys anything from someone who is not confident or not excited or not like lit up by your offer, right? Like, you have to have all of those aspects to be able to sell successfully. And the work that it takes to stay in that state is extremely difficult sometimes. And I'm finally getting around to like the whole point of this podcast, but it's okay. This is a more personal episode, so I'm gonna allow myself for this to be a little all over the place. But this whole concept that I was thinking about the other day, I was like, does your vision actually make you excited? And by vision, I mean like your vision for your business, your vision for your ideal life. Does that make you excited? Have you even thought about it? Because if you haven't really thought about it, like if you haven't thought about like, what do I want my business and coaching career to look like in 5 years? If you haven't thought about that, you need to go sit down, stare at a wall with a journal and think about it, because that can keep you inspired. That keeps you inspired. And I will say, over the past year, I have kept that vision in my mind every single day of what I'm working towards. What's the point of me trying to build this online business? Like, it's so hard. Like, what is the point? Why am I doing this? Why am I creating all these things? Like, why am I doing this? And for me, that is for our future family and the life that I want to provide my future family, and the type of mom I want to be one day, and the flexibility that I want, and all of these things. It's like, I've been thinking about that every single day, and like that's what I'm working towards. And I have written it down super specific, and that's also really important, is to like write these things down so specific that you can almost feel it, taste it, okay? because when you write it down specifically, you are able to better visualize, imagine it. Like, what is my life going to be like when I'm able to do these things, right? Like when I've built the thing, right? And that is a big part of helping me stay inspired a lot of days when I don't, even if I'm not like, this doesn't mean that I like walk around like super pumped to sit down for 4 hours and like do right or whatever's on my calendar. It's like I'm not always super pumped for that, but I just keep it in my mind. Okay, what's the vision? Like, why am I doing this? What am I working towards? And that definitely helps. And another thing is, do you actually believe in your vision? Do you believe that your vision can actually happen? I think that this is also a huge piece that coaches miss a lot of times, because they are typically surrounding themselves with people who do not have a similar vision as them. And they might say things like, oh, that is not realistic. Oh, that could never happen. That sounds hard. Like, is that really possible? And a lot of times that can really make you second guess what you actually want for yourself. And something that I'm noticing as I get older, I've always been really picky about who I spend my time with, who I'm friends with, who I'm talking to every single day. I've always been extremely picky about it, but now that I am a full-time entrepreneur, I'm even more picky about it. I choose to surround myself with people, like most of the people I talk to on a regular basis are also entrepreneurs who run online businesses. Why? Because that helps me stay inspired. It does not help me stay inspired to talk to people who like are okay with just making a $60,000 a year salary and like going to a 9-to-5, right? Like, and who don't understand like the full realm of possibility that you can actually have when you do have an online business or, whatever you do. But this is what I'm talking about. It's like I find myself not relating to those people a lot, and it makes me feel super uninspired and like, ugh, that sounds horrible, and so now I'm not saying that everybody who works a corporate job is uninspiring and sucks. My husband works a corporate job and he's one of the most inspiring people I know. But I'm just talking about generally, and who you talk to and give your energy to on a regular basis does matter and impacts how you show up every single day. And my next point is that if you actually believed in your vision, you would be working on bringing your ideas to life every single day. And this comes back to, all right, you believe in your vision for your life, but also you should have a vision for your business and like who you are meant to help and who are you lit up to help and inspired to help right now at this point in time. At this point in my coaching career, I am extremely clear on this, and every single day I also think about that, and it helps me stay inspired. And I am like, man, I know so many coaches need what I have. I know so many coaches need this, and I know that there are plenty of coaches who are not as skilled as me, who are making way more money than me. That is also something that drives me and helps me stay inspired. Or it's more of like a rage inspired, because it's like there's nothing that makes me more mad than to think about that. As how many people are just not as good, not as skilled as me, not as smart as me, not as qualified as me, but they're making a shit ton more money than I am. Yeah, if that doesn't piss you off, I don't know what will. So, and I can say that's the truth for you too. No matter what industry you're in, there's always going to be somebody who is not as good as you, not as skilled as you, not as qualified as you, but making way more money than you. And that's also something you can pull from. But anyways, the reason that I wanted to share all of this is because this is just something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about when it comes to being an entrepreneur or online coach or building a business, building a personal brand, whatever you want to call it. Is like, we just don't talk about it as much, about how much of a mind fuck it can be, how hard it is to stay inspired, like who you talk to every day matters so much, and like, you know, just thinking about the vision and you having to keep that on your mind so much to stay inspired and all of that, because it's so easy to get caught up in the daily grind of creating content, having conversations, all these different things. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to share about that side of having an online business and working towards your dreams. So let me know if you listened to this episode and enjoyed it. I am going to try to mix in more of these like behind the scenes types of episodes with like my educational content. I'm trying to do a mix for you guys. So if you enjoyed this episode, would love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram. My handle is @AshleyCrocker127. And I hope you have a fabulous day. Catch you next time.